Hi everyone! Welcome back to the studio for this week's episode of Tutorial Tuesday. Today I thought we would imagine ourselves being on the shore of an alpine lake, looking out across this crystal clear blue water, and it's kind of shallow and you can almost just hear the water kind of like slapping up against the shore. And so we're going to do a lot of blues and turquoise in this scene. I just think it's going to be a really fun kind of summery type feel. So if you'd like to paint along, the paint list is going to be in the description below. And if you're just here to hang out, that's awesome too. Let's jump right into it. Thank you so much for being here for today's Tutorial Tuesday number 50. My canvas is my standard size 18 by 24 inch, and I have prepped it with a thin, even coat of liquid white. Let's jump right into it. I'm going to use the 1-inch brush. I just sometimes feel like I don't want to go too crazy with paint, so I will choose a smaller brush to do the sky, but it is a lot faster if you use a bigger brush, but sometimes you use more paint. So anyway, I am going to start on the right hand corner. My light source is coming from the left today, kind of somewhere over here-ish. So we're going to start with our dark on this corner. Really getting a lot of paint to show over here and lightening up with the pressure on the brush as we move towards this side with our light source. Bring this down just a touch here. And we might just have a few little clouds out here, so we can just leave some areas with a little bit of movement. And we do want some blue over here. We'll just kind of get a little bit over here. Longer strokes as we move down closer to the horizon, which is going to be right about here. We'll have a little mountain range, like you're at like the mid-mountain Alpine lake, or I don't know, somewhere a little bit higher where it just has a bunch of water melt and it's really clear. Maybe in the big mountains of the Alps, or who knows? We're just making it up. Just soften this. I bet there's some places like this around in the US as well. Somewhere in the Rockies. Okay, let's do a little bit of that blue we want down below. We're gonna have water down here. We want it to be, I kind of want it to be like a nice turquoise water. It happens, you know, like that crystal clear water that you get from snow melt and glacier melt. So we'll just get a little bit of phthalo blue down below, try and harmonize it. Still starting with your stroke on the outside, moving in. That avoids you getting harsh lines in the middle and having to kind of blend that out. It gets a little bit annoying. So you can do it, just lots of pressure. But I would recommend starting from the outside so that you don't have to do more work. Seems like we're running out of paint on the brush here. I just flipped it over and there was a little more. Let's leave it something like that. And I'm going to wipe off my brush just a touch here. Then I'm going to pick up a little bit of phthalo blue. That was way too much. Sorry, this is phthalo green. Phthalo green, titanium white. Let's back off on a little bit of that. I got pretty good amount on the brush. I might just even wipe some of it off. There we go. And I wanted just a tiny bit. We could get rid of some down here. There we go. Sometimes it just doesn't work the way you think it's going to, so we adapt. I had too much phthalo green on my brush for the sky, which is where I was going to start putting this, but we're still going to use it, so I'm just going to put it on the canvas down below. And now we should have a nice light blue-gray mixture on the brush. And we're going to start this at the horizon. And just work it up lightly into this corner, into our horizon, or up into our darker blue. Not too much though. Something like that. Now, blending brush, let's make sure that's clean. I've been a little bit lazy on my cleaning lately and I'm noticing it on the canvas. Don't do that, naughty Kaylee. But sometimes when you're done painting, you just want to be done painting and then you have to clean up, and I'll be like cleaning up but just not really take it super seriously, and shame. Because you don't want to be mixing a spot like this with a bunch of black on your brush or something. Like, whoops. But it happens, even to people who film and do stuff on YouTube. So, anyway. I'm starting in this center area where I still have some liquid white. I want to just soften that. And then we're going to slowly move up and blend until it gets nice and soft. Working in the lighter areas first. Let's go hit this corner where our light is kind of coming from this side. So I want this side to be a little bit brighter. So we'll just bring this together. Blending is probably like the most intensive part, I think. And I'm a little bit tired today. I've been rock climbing and it's been really fun, but it makes my shoulders kind of tired. So, make sure to hydrate, because that'll help. I got my big cup of tea. I don't know what you all drink while you're painting, but I like to drink matcha and just herbal teas and sometimes coffee. Today I have tea. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna start blending this lower area. Something else that I'm kind of fighting with, which I thought I would mention, is my liquid white is really, really thick because I'm kind of down to the bottom of it. And so I added a little bit of liquid clear to help loosen up just the tub that I have so that I can still use it, but it's really thick and it can be pretty hard. So you can feel it when you have a lot on the canvas, and I'm noticing that in some areas there's a good bit of that still, so we'll just work with that. No big deal. But if you've ever found that you were running to the bottom of your liquid white and it's really chunky and you're like, wow, there's still a whole bunch left, but it seems like I can't use it, just try adding a tiny, tiny bit, like seriously, the tiniest little bit of liquid clear and mix it up, and it'll help to at least just so you can use more of it instead of wasting a lot more than you really want to, because it just doesn't work the same. So it'll help for a little while and keep it going until you get some more on order. Anyway, I can feel it on this canvas. So we're just softening. I really want this to start off with lots of just really softness. Really softness. I don't know, a lot of softness. Sometimes it's hard to do words in paint. Some days it's really easy and other days it's not. So anyway, I like that. I'm going to keep blending the sky, but I know we're going to be putting in some clouds up here. So we will, let's see. That looks a little bit better there. Nice. Let's see. I'm going to use my fan brush and liquid or titanium white, bright red. Mix those on the brush. I just want some nice bright clouds out here. Our horizon is going to be right in this area, so we're just going to pop in a few. I don't know, you can put in as many clouds as you want, but I was kind of thinking some little fluffs. They're really fun to paint. Just do whatever. Cute little guys. When you're in the mountains, you're not always psyched to see these. Sometimes it can mean that later on that day you may see some rain or thunderstorms depending on the time of year. But they're still little, and they just, as it starts to heat up, the water starts to evaporate from these high areas and it creates little storms. Super fun. Maybe just a little bit of kind of mistiness toward the horizon. Now I'm just getting carried away. We don't need this many clouds, but I feel like there's something over there like little cotton balls. Fun. Okay, that's enough, Kaylee. Let's do blending brush. This is the blending brush from earlier. Just going to wipe it out. And then just soften the base. Our light is coming from the left, so we kind of soften the back sides. And wipe off your brush if you're picking up a lot of paint, but if you blended this nicely, you shouldn't be picking up too much. It does just help every now and then to make sure you're working with the same textures on the brush and you're not moving around any of this blue to a cloud that you don't want to be blue. So we just soften them. Soften the backs. You can kind of give them a little tickle and expand them a little bit. Then this just helps to get rid of all of those brush strokes that we just put in. Sometimes you can still see the little swirls. So we want to just get rid of that and make this look nice and smooth. So very lightly, and you can use a really light brush like the blending brushes, or just a really light touch, and we go over these, keeping in mind the angles that we've already created with our light. So we have a long horizon up here, and our eyes are going to be drawn that way. This is really far away, and it's going to be moving closer this way. So our angles are moving up that way. So when you blend your cloud, you work with that. Make sense? There we go. And if you want to, you can take a little bit of liquid white and bright red. That was too much. We're looking for a medium texture pink. And you can pop on a few more highlights if you'd like to on some of the clouds. Maybe you want to bring a couple out. Maybe that. Then we just take the blending brush again. Just very lightly bring a couple of those back. There we go. They're there. They're a little hard to see with the lighting today. Maybe I'll be able to adjust it. Alizarin crimson, phthalo green, phthalo blue, and a touch of Van Dyke brown, I think. And we'll mix that and grab some titanium white, and let's, marble that into kind of just a lightish medium blue. And I got like a distant mountain. The canvases that I normally order are out of stock online, and I'm using a different canvas than I usually do. And the only time that I notice it is when I'm painting mountains, is the texture of the canvas. I like a really rough canvas, and it really helps to get good texture on mountains. So that's why I always buy those canvases. And this one is different, so but it does have some good texture. So we'll see how the layering goes, but you guys will get to see how different types of canvases can affect the end result of a painting because of the texture of it. So if you like working on a really smooth canvas versus a really textured canvas, I'd love to know. I prefer the kind of more textured canvases. So let me know in the comments what you like, or if you're in the live chat, we can chat there about it. If it's not premiering, then just tell me in the comments, because I'm real curious what you like and why. But I just love the way that a textured canvas will help me with layering the paints on a mountain. It just breaks really well. So yeah, this canvas is a little bit smoother, and we're gonna see how different it looks with that in mind. So I have like a little sketch over here that I'm looking at for this mountain, because I wanted to get kind of a little bit of a composition idea. So I usually do a little sketch, but they're like really bad sketches. So I usually don't show you guys. Anyway, that's where, let's do something, I think like this. Maybe something a little bit more rocky over here. Let's do all of that, and then like a big okay. Now we need to soften the base. It's been a little bit overcast and rainy lately the last couple days, so I kind of wanted to do just like a bright sunshiny scene, and anyway, so that's what we're doing. So I'm excited. This is like really bright colors, and then we're gonna get some fun stuff down below here in just a little bit. We are going to have some reflections down here, so we can kind of pull some of that and just get some of that idea going as well. All the way up, straight across. Far away, we don't need to worry. Now, let's do a little bit more setting up the scene here so that we have a little more ease later. I want to bring in some more turquoise in this area and lighten it just a touch. Kind of that nice Caribbean blue feel, but it's in the mountains, so you can usually say that it's from like glacier melt or just really cold icy water or snow melt type stuff. So we're gonna put some of that in here. And a little bit darker, I'm gonna have kind of like a shadow here from something else later, which I think you're gonna like. And this is all gonna be underwater, so we don't have to really worry too much here. Let's get some blue and phthalo green. A nice rock out here. Now we're just going to soften all that, and I want to get a little bit of phthalo blue as we work into this kind of distant area up here. Okay, we can use our blending brush now just to really soften these until they're where you want them. You just want to make it like a consistent amount of paint here where there's not a bunch of high spots and low spots. I'm thinking I want just a little bit darker up here. Just feels like it needs a little bit more up here in the sky to kind of get that perspective moving. You just step away from your canvas and look at it, and if you think it needs it, you can just put it in. No big deal. And just soften that all together. No big deal. Yeah, better already. Okay, nice bright day, right? In the mountains. I'm gonna take some of my mountain color and just pile that up. I need some more titanium white. I think I need that much, but we'll do it. I gooped myself. Okay, let's do some titanium white. Looks like that's going to be our shadow color since it was a messy night. And we'll grab a little bit of some clean titanium white. We can just go right into this thick cloud mixture. We'll grab a tiny bit of Van Dyke brown and our mountain mixture, just the tiniest bits. We're going for kind of like a pinkish gray. We'll start with this, and then we can always add a little bit more highlight to it, but I wanted this to feel a little bit further away. Our light is coming from the left-hand side. Oh yeah, interesting canvas indeed, but we are gonna make this work. Just takes a minute to get a feel of it, see what it's gonna do, and you can usually convince it to give you an effect that you can work with, right? Let's pull back a couple of these highlights, and then we can go in with a few more. Let's do something like that. And here. Now, highlight side on these, they're going to be kind of the tops and the backs. So not too much, maybe here it'll be sparkling a touch down that, but not much. Here, a few ideas. And then we can use the knife and just kind of, you can move the paint around and get an idea and shape your mountain the way that you want to. Okay, now we're going to work with our shadow mixture, which is just titanium white and some blue and the mountain mixture. You just want to pull a little bit of this reflective color into our shadow areas. You don't have to hit all of them heavily. You can do different colors, multicolors. We'll just see what this looks like today. I wanted this to feel a little bit more distant, so we're actually going to soften this out to kind of push it back. So I'm intentionally trying not to put too much contrast and paint out here so that it can look really distant. So we'll see if we can achieve that today. Doesn't have to be like miles away or anything, but it's across the lake, so we want to, you know, give that feeling. And on this side, there's going to be darks and lights and midtones. So all of these holes, those are all of your midtones. Everywhere that it breaks, you're getting that other color underneath. So you're just, you know, working with layering these colors. It's really fun. Okay. I want to do maybe like a little bit of green out in this meadow. We'll see what it looks like. Sap green and titanium white, and then grab some of the highlight mixture just to kind of dull it down. Maybe let's do this. Yeah, just a little bit. And I want to just give a little bit of an idea of some greenery, like it's melting out, but up high there's still like a tiny bit of snow in some areas. And there's rocks and grass and stuff, so let's do that. Grab a little bit of this phthalo green and push that into our shadow mixture, and we can just put some dark behind some of that. Simple. Work with that. Just a touch of color, tiny bit. And I know, let's see, a little bit more snow, I think. Titanium white, bright red. Oh, that was so much bright red. I don't think I want this much bright red, but oh, we're going for it. Maybe just on a couple. Okay, that's enough. Blending brush, very carefully. I'm just gonna tap on a couple of these areas and tap that out on a paper towel. I use just like these white shop towels. They work really great. Love them. And we're just using this big brush to lift in the opposite direction. And you can just soften these. Until they reach whatever softness you want. Okay, that's what I want. I'm going to throw in a nice dark kind of base to this where it meets our water, our lake. Way out here, way out here. And let's do, yes, we will pull that down. It's really far away, but this helps to kind of give that dark feeling, that reflection from this mountain that's going to be giving. The reflection from this mountain it's going to be giving. I don't even know what I'm saying today. Anyway, do the things. And okay, so I'm just like pulling down this dark, this point, trying to get a cute little like reflection in the water. That's sort of similar. This needs to be dark there, but anyway, now we'll go across and soften that. Simple. Look at how nice that works. Make sure you're pulling straight down. Now, liquid white, and I'm going to work with these blues here. Just kind of get a medium blue white, kind of more of a shadow color. And we'll use this for our water line on this mountain. Make sure that you go in straight. Sometimes it helps to double load the knife. You can get it on the top and on the bottom. And then you can really fine tune some of this. Just depends. But you do have to push a bit of pressure. Now we'll do this side. Now I want to put out a little, well, we're going to put a little island, rocky island out here. So let's finish this water back here first. I'm getting ahead of myself, which happens. Titanium white and a little blue. I want to reflect this kind of cloud feature here into the water. And we'll just kind of soften that in. And you can just use a knife, you can use a brush. Now, we can just soften a tiny bit more of that for now. Kind of gives us a nice little sheen on that bright water. Then we can come over the top if later and do some more kind of finishing with that. Who knows? We'll probably do more of this later. But let's do this little island out here. We're sitting on the shore here, and maybe it kind of wraps around, and then there's going to be this little bit over here. So Van Dyke brown, alizarin crimson, and the same colors for our mountain. Let's grab a touch of sap green as well. Phthalo blue, phthalo green, alizarin crimson, sap green, just kind of a nice brown mixture. And we're gonna have like a rocky island right out here. And we're going to highlight that titanium white and Van Dyke brown makes kind of a nice little gray mixture. And then we'll add just a touch of bright red. And I think I want a little bit of Indian yellow. Let's see what that does. Little too much. That's nice. Okay. We'll grab some of this color, just marble it on the knife, and we'll throw in some rocks out here. Touch more. All right, now we can just grab some of that paint with a knife and pull it down. For a second. Now I want to put in some trees. And I'm going to use the fan brush from earlier and just get into this brown mix here. Doesn't matter. And maybe we're gonna have a tree right here. This seems like a pretty rugged place for some trees. So this is gonna be kind of a rugged tree. There's a little bit going on, but there he goes. He's got a few holes. We'll throw in a trunk for that one in a minute. Do something like this. Just wiggle your brush through the paint and pull it flat to load it up nice and good. Let's do something different kind of tree. Ooh. Also rugged. Then we're gonna push up at the base, something like that. Maybe there's one more of those, who knows? I bet there's more than one. Almost always is. Oh, and we know we need a little bit of a reflection. And perhaps just maybe we will do one more. Two more. Let's do two more. Maybe one here. We'll do this another rugged evergreen out here. And I want to do a little Okay, now let's make these trees look like real trees. Titanium white. Oh, let's get the base of the tree in. Just pick up your dark and some Van Dyke brown. It doesn't really matter. And we'll put in a little bit of the dark. Kind of help for these ones. Maybe we'll put some into our reflections. Then touch of titanium white, some bright red, and our brown mixtures, kind of as similar as the rock tone. And then we'll just darken it a little bit and grab a touch of that. And we're highlighting on the right side. Tap and pull it around. The sun is on the right, getting in front of my camera. I'm just going to get a new fan brush and go into some liquid white and into this fun green mixture that we used for some of that area back there. Let's darken it just a touch, sap green and alizarin crimson. That ought to do it. And we'll pop on the right. Don't forget your shadows or your reflections. Get these pine trees or evergreen of some kind. Get a little bit down here. And for these other ones, we'll get a little bit of a darker green, phthalo blue. And then we will thin it down with our liquid white mixture. And then we will just highlight these. They're just a little bit of a different color. They're different trees. They need to be a different green. There we go. Now I want to do some fun stuff. Wow, getting excited there. Sorry for yelling. I get some Indian yellow, just kind of get a nice bright yellowy green. Whatever this ends up being is going to be what I'm going to use. And we'll pop in some little grasses out here. Maybe we want a little bit more color. Bright red. Fun. Okay, now then clean off the brush, get some yellow and titanium white. Maybe kind of like some bits of lichen on the rocks. Don't know. There's almost always some up high like that. We'll just get a little dab of that. And in a couple areas, just splash it in. Sometimes there's even red. It's kind of like a rust color. And it just sits on the rocks. Okay. Always love putting fun colors into scenes. I could go on and on, adding more and more color. So let's do that. I'm going to get thin down light yellow on my script liner and put in some grasses, some long grasses out here. They'll be out there. They always are. Just put them in wherever. A few here and there. And if the paint doesn't stick, thin it down. I'm just using my brush wash. It's dirty. I haven't cleaned it from the last time I painted. And I just dip into my dirty brush wash and thin down until it's nice and thin. And then you can usually get this to roll right off, at least for a little while. Maybe we'll throw some of that color down into the water. And the last thing, one of the fun details that people say that looks really cool, is you just scrape in a few branches. And it looks like you spent a lot more time on the details than you really do, but people will notice this, especially if you have your friends over and they're looking at your paintings. They're going to be like, wow, look at all that detail. And you're like, yeah, I just scraped it in, but you know, look at that. Okay, up close it really pops. And then we can even throw in, but not too many, because you can go overboard a little bit there. Okay. Then I'm going to take my blending brush here and just very carefully in a straight way pull our reflections. Just gives it that reflective look. Look at how easy that is to make reflections in the water. Nice. Now we'll do another little water line here. I'm gonna make this over here kind of our medium thickness blue, cut off a little roll, just like before. And then cut in our water line. Maybe there's a line. Nice and flat still out here. It's further away. Let's soften it just a little bit. There we go. Okay, I've been so excited to do this other part. I wanted to put in a really big rock here and have like a fun tree, and then we're gonna do some, just kind of some water work. So anyway, I've been excited for this part and we're finally here. So we're gonna mix up a little bit more brown for our rock, phthalo blue, phthalo green, sap green, Van Dyke brown. We're looking for a nice dark gray brown color. And we need to add a little bit more blue. It's a little too green right now. A little more blue. And we'll add some more crimson now. Okay. Now I kind of made this a little bit more to the green side than I was planning, but we're gonna make it work. It doesn't matter. We're just having fun. Need some more Van Dyke brown on my mixture. And let's build us a nice big old rock out here. Oh, where am I? I think we're gonna do this. Oh, I don't want to mess it up, but yeah, we are. Gotta trust my composition drawing that I made. Sure, Kaylee? Past Kaylee? Yes. It's not like a giant mountain, it's just a big boulder, but it's in the water and we're gonna put a tree on it. And then we'll have it kind of sitting under the water. Something like that. Now, I want to give just a little bit of time to pick out the shapes. So you can kind of just give it a little bit of direction with a nice soft brush. All right, let's see what we can do for highlights on this bad boy over here. I want to mix up something of a similar color as before, but a little bit more Van Dyke brown, kind of a little more gray tones. A little Van Dyke brown. Let's work with that. We can cool it off with just a touch of blue. Now, marble in some white. And then I'm going to cut off a roll of this paint and start working on my highlights. Okay, now a little bit of a shadow mixture. We can just use what we have left and bring in some blue, light blue and white. We need some good reflection, water reflecting colors here. So we're going to use our blue and white to marble in with this dark color that we already have. Maybe this one's like a ledge. Now we'll come back in with some bright red and Van Dyke brown and some of our reds from our trees or something. Something bright and kind of sunshiny, a little bit different. We can just pop on a little bit of a sheen in a couple areas. Just bring it all together. We can always do more on that, but now let's just loosen up our reflection a little bit. There's just a lot of paint there, so I wanted to kind of allow it to mix. Now we're going to be coming into kind of some shadow, other areas, and we're going to have some more rocks down here. So I'm just going to put them in while I have this same color. This is kind of the rock that we're standing on, or the shore that we're sitting on down here, just so we can really feel like we're there. I love paintings like that where you can actually feel like you're there, you know? Otherwise, what's the point? There's plenty of reasons, but that's what I like about painting, is being able to be there for a little while you're painting the scene and just really feel like, you know, you're a part of it. Well, I ran out of paint, so I'm going to mix up some more alizarin crimson, phthalo green, phthalo blue, Van Dyke brown. And maybe we'll have another rock right here, just this whole kind of corner area. Doesn't matter, we're going to come in and work with this more later. Now, let's do a water line around this rock really quick. Now, I want to put in a little bit more water, just a few little ripples here, and then we'll get a few out here. Kind of bring some of these areas together. Now we can work a little bit on these rocks up here. Titanium white and some Van Dyke brown and some blues. We'll just give a little bit of an idea for some of these. Kind of a tough angle for both knives. Maybe I'll have an easier time, but we're going to put some other stuff over here. Let's do this tree that I'm excited about. I'm going to use my script liner and go into some Van Dyke brown and some blue, maybe some bright red, just a touch. I just want a nice dark brown, nice and thick paint, and we're going to put in a tree up here. Nice and strong at the base. But it's got some character. Just use your brush and shake out a few branches. Now we'll thin down the brush, the paint. We need it nice and thin to do some thinner branches. You just thin it down and twirl it into a fine point. And this brush really does hold a lot of paint, so you gotta work to get it to load up there. Got it kind of chunky today. That does not work. Okay, let's do liquid white, and we'll go into this reddish mixture. Why not? It's got some highlight colors to it, and we'll just run up the edge of this tree, nice and kind of wiggly. Get some of that highlight color to break off on the left-hand side. Maybe we put in a few more branches, who knows, nothing too crazy, and we can just soften it a little bit. Then we can even get crazy and do a little bit of a blue on the back side if you'd like. We have water in the scene, and it really helps to have that blue to show the shadows. Now, titanium white, bright red, and our reddish rock mixture. And we'll just come in here and fix up at the base of that tree. And then we can come in with some greens and do some grasses down here, maybe just a few. Maybe some bushes out here. And then you can just come in with your knife scrape in a few sticks and twigs, and then just like we did before on the other one, a little bit of our light color and some thinned down paint. Because they'll probably be there. I spend a lot of time outside, so I definitely see these things. So that's why I'm painting them. You can even thin down some yellow, make a nice bright green again. And just make a couple of these areas pop. Okay, now let's get the brush. We have a fan brush with some dark colors on it. Go into the sap green, phthalo blue, phthalo green, Van Dyke brown. Just mix a lot of those on the brush. And we're gonna put in our fun kind of beat up tree out here. Just using the corner of the brush, I'm pushing up. Maybe a good bit here. And a little out here. And just a touch. Okay, now what we want to do is pick out a few areas just where we need a few more branches. Getting a little ridiculous on those, Kaylee. Okay, we can fix it. Let's just do something. I don't know what I was doing over here, but we'll do a few more. Just some down branches like that, and then we'll highlight it and see how she looks. A little bit of greens, light greens and yellows. Something fun and bright and awesome. And we'll just pick out our highlights. Then we can take a sable brush and kind of soften some of these. It's supposed to be like a juniper tree, but this is turning into something different. But I'm just going to stop while I'm semi ahead on this thing. Maybe bring some of these branches across. And do a little bit of cleanup right here. Now I just want to like go be out here on the water instead of painting it. Okay. Okay. It's windy, that thing gets beat up a lot. Let's leave that. I want to do a little bit of stuff with the water here. Gosh, big messes today. Let's go into our titanium white. And I want to do like those fun water, like the water lines. I don't know if this is gonna work. Kind of like the water is reflecting onto the sand down below. And I thought this would work differently, but we're gonna find out if we can do this with our thick paint or if we need the thinner paint. I don't know if this is working. We're gonna find out later because I need to step back and look. Okay, so that is sort of working. I'm just gonna keep going and moving. I think we're gonna move this way and we'll have some out here. And like this maybe, and okay. I just wanted to give myself a little bit of an idea for where these may be shaping and stemming their shapes from, right? Because they're going to be moving with the rocks and the wind, and so smaller as we move further away and kind of a little bit flatter. And I think I'm probably going to come back and soften these out, but I just want to put them in first with a nice bright color. It's mixing with the blues that we already have on the canvas, so it should really be helping to give us what we want here. In the end, just starts blending, and that's good. And maybe just kind of wiggling my finger around just to give it a little bit of water motions Oh, I'm kind of just making this up. This is how I usually do it. Just try and see. And then if it works, you can do it like that again. And if not, then you change it. What? Something like this. Just adding some of this shine and other color to this back area too. And then we have kind of this shadow from this tree and the rock right in here. And so we're going to kind of leave some of that out. Maybe we can even come in with a darker color. And there's maybe some ripples out here. Go back to our light and see if we can get a few more of these in here. All right, I'm going to stop with that for just a moment. That way I can just lighten them just so slightly with a brush. Nice. I think I like that. And I'm going to work on these rocks out here for a second. We've got some nice browns and highlight browns. We can just make something happen with that. Maybe we'll throw in some grass. I'll get some dark first. And we get our highlight color with some liquid white and light greens and yellows. Just allow those to blend on the brush. Scraping some sticks and twigs. Okay, I think we need to finish out some of these water lines here, and I'm just gonna try and see if we can make some of them nice and bright. I'm not sure what we want to do here. I got a lot of dark greens on this corner over here. And I'm feeling a little indecisive on these. Maybe we'll soften them more. Okay, what we can do around these kind of water things, I want to just make them look more complete. And this area is a little empty. They're kind of more in the shadow. I'm kind of looking in the camera because it has a different angle than where I'm standing, and so I was just looking at my computer screen to catch a little area that I was noticing. Busted. Okay. I like this. This looks kind of cool, but I'm going to use a little bit of liquid white now in a thinner. All these obstacles of paint brushes loaded with paint in my way. Scary. Okay. I just wanted a little bit of a lighter color, and I'm gonna grab some yellow, hopefully, and it'll stay yellow and not turn green. Oh, fingers crossed. And just a couple of these. I want to pick out some bright areas. I don't know if this is really working. My lighting in here is a little different today. I'm not too sure why. I just decide sometimes to change it when it's working. But anyway, I did. It's different. Maybe we'll do just a couple more of these. And now I want to, we'll see, this script liner, I'm going to kind of just rock in a few bits of this brighter color back here. And then we'll start almost connecting a few. And there's a lot of jets flying around right now. They are loud, at least for me, probably not for you. Just a little few more areas with some dark areas. That's pretty cool. I think it works. I'm going to use my palette knife a little bit here. Well, that's not, you're not really going to see anything there. Maybe we can just leave this and build up a little more interest here at the base of this. And then we can ease into these ripples a little. We can even work in some of this sheen kind of right over. It'll really kind of set right on top. We have to remember that there's ripples in the water, so we can vary them up a little bit. Just, I don't know, water motion. Make it happy and make it bright. And I'm just gonna kind of poke around on some other things here. Just thinning down the paint a little bit more because it's definitely not sticking. Okay, nice thin paint now of a light color. A little bit more caution now, not just super willy-nilly, which you can do with kind of the dark. You just go put in a bunch of dark, but when you're putting in your highlights, you definitely want to make sure, because they're going to stand out a lot more there in front. Just to be particular about the way they look and to not make like 6 of them all like exactly the same. Thin that down, maybe a little bit of liquid white. I think down in this corner, maybe we need like maybe there's some underwater rocks. And we can just paint those with our similar colors and put some kind of highlights on them. They're underwater, but we just kind of make them to a greenish color. And then kind of push them away, and then we can take our water and put them right on top. just be loose with it and see what you can do. Kind of like a fun little underwater, you know, scene there. And when it dries, it's gonna look really cool too, which I'm super excited about. So I think I'm just gonna stop there. Maybe we can pop in a little bit of color. Maybe some flowers or something. Titanium white and liquid white. Nice light kind of gray white, off-white, whatever. And I think there should be some flower out here. That's pretty. Who knows? Maybe we'll do some pretty blue ones. Bluebells, and maybe these are columbines if we're in the Rockies. Who knows? It is good to sometimes have a really good plan, but I just didn't really feel like it today. I wanted to kind of wing it, and here you are. Tutorial Tuesday number 50. I think I'll be done in just a few. Maybe like red or lavender. Maybe it's just going to be more gray. Just a few more. Maybe some red. Now we can just put in a bunch of little dark little strands beneath these all. Phthalo green and phthalo blue and sap green, whatever you have that's dark. You just want to make sure that you pull down a few of these. Then we can even, right over the front of them, pull out just a couple little grasses. Don't leave them hanging there. They don't like that. Maybe there's even, oh my gosh, we're going crazy, but maybe there's some of those cattail right here on some of these grasses. Something like that. Then we can take some bright red and liquid white. You could use Indian yellow too. I think is a good color to mix in with the reds. And then we just want to touch on a couple of these on our highlight side. And if you really want to, you can pull up a couple more with a kind of a brownish. Always looks nice in there. Kind of just left this part, I don't know, sort of unfinished here, so oh, better. Tiny bit more cleaning, and then we're going to use Nice and Fresh on a semi-clean brush, a few extra bright details. We have our sun coming from the left. Yeah, I just really feel like I'm kind of just sitting out here on the water. I really like this. Just wanting to soften it just slightly. It just doesn't seem right being really crisp. I mean that it's supposed to be underwater, right? So just trying to brush lightly straight across and then some up and down. All right, maybe a touch more. You don't really need it up there, it doesn't seem. Now I'm just fidgeting away at it because I don't know if I like it, but I'm gonna sign it anyway. Okay. Clean brush, bright red. That's how I sign it. You can sign however you want. This is just how I do it because it always shows up on any painting that I'm doing. The bright red is a really bright color and it's going to show up on top of basically everything. And that's what Bob did. So that's what I do. Here or here? Maybe here. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining me in the studio today for this episode of Tutorial Tuesday. I thought we were going to be doing a nice alpine lake, and that's pretty much what we've accomplished here. Did a little bit of a challenging like water scene down below, so feel free to just make that nice and smooth if you'd like to. But I wanted it to have like kind of ripples in it, so I think when this dries it's going to be pretty awesome. But right now I'm like, yeah, I don't know. So let me know in the comments below what you think about this painting and what parts you would do. If you'd like to paint the entire thing, send me an email, Kaylee@KayleeRakowski.com. It should be right here for you. And yeah, send me your emails and tune in every Tuesday at 5 o'clock for the live premiere. We have a live chat and we just kind of hang out. Sometimes we end up talking about dinner, and sometimes we just talk about the weather, and sometimes we're actually talking about the painting itself. But it's really fun, so come hang out every Tuesday, 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. My name's Kaylee. I paint wet on wet landscape oil paintings, and you are just here for Tutorial Tuesday number 50. Thank you so much for being here with me in the studio today. Smile and be happy, friends. Bye.